I could be your hero, but I can't get out of bed. There's too much in my head. I could be more faithful, but I fail at that habit. So I run around instead. I wanna be good to myself, love hard to breathe more, drink less. I wanna be seen at my best, sleep more, be nice, a lot less. All I need is 21 days and I'm fine. January 1, I'ma still need more time. Every single year, yeah, it never fails, I try. But maybe I don't ever wanna put down this life. I could be your best friend, but I can't pick up my phone. Let it ring cause no one's home. I'm always judging and degrading. I should stop all that, I'm sure, but I'm just too insecure. I wanna be good to myself, love hard to breathe more, drink less. I wanna be seen at my best, sleep more, be nice, a lot less. All I need is 21 days and I'm fine. January 1, I'ma still need more time. Every single year, yeah, it never fails, I try. But maybe I don't ever wanna put down this life. All I need is 21 days and I'm fine. January 1, I'ma still need more time. Every single year, yeah, it never fails, I try. But maybe I don't ever wanna put down this life.
My lies memorized in my heart.
you see her walking down the boulevard. She got the posture of a superstar. She looks so fly in those Gucci slides. Yeah, I wonder what she hides under her disguise. Yeah. And all the girls around the world, they wanna be it. And all the dudes are trying to score like it's fever. She lives a double life, puts on a show. What's under the subtle smile, we'll never know. She's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's lining up to see her. There must be something about her features. You'll find her beauty goes much deeper once you get to meet her. Let me paint a picture. I see they don't understand. Feeling like Picasso. She brushing against my hands. Seen you from around the way. You didn't give me the time of day. You be making moves that who really care what Simon say? All the bad things, girl, I had to look past that. Call yourself a dime, I'm just trying to get my cash back. You be looking fine, so no wonder they can't match that. Louis V scarf, or I'm chilling with a dad.
Hello there. Hello there. Hello there. To YouTube and Twitch. How the fuckity fuck are we? I am. Well, not well in general. My day today has been interrupted by real life in a visceral fashion. I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to go into it at all. The point being that my usual time at 7, I wasn't even in my house. I was outside having to deal with the real world and human beings and things. It was most unpleasant. I don't wish to repeat that at all. But I'm back. I'm here. Hello. It is still technically Thursday, so this counts as Thursday's show. That's fine. Not that I need to do anything particularly on any given day, but, you know, I do prefer to be able to do a show every day. I do. Even though technically this will be my second Thursday show, because I did one overnight, which if you didn't see, you won't understand that I'm now Dylan Logan. That's a new name I have. If you didn't see the show last night on Twitch, I could only assume you're not following me on Twitch, and that's deeply regrettable. But fortunately for everybody, you can rectify that wrong by going and following me at twitch.tv/KFLogan1875, where not only will you get to see me on Twitch Tuesdays, which is the only place I broadcast on Tuesdays, but also you will get to get notifications and all that shit for when I do random late night Twitch only streams, which will happen from time to time as I can be bothered. We watched Infrared losing his shit. He said that my chat had taken his kindness for weakness, which is outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. Now, to the person in the Twitch chat, where do I get the music from? It's a free, copyright-free thing on YouTube. So it's just a compilation of bits of like that music, that style of music on YouTube. So I don't even know what it's called. It's just free, so I use it. Anyhow, yes. So how have we all been? I've been. Oh yeah, basically he was talking about, he did, after the Infrared did the stream with me, the next day he did a stream with some guy called Sol or something, and Dylan Burns, who regular viewers will know, he's been on the show, a friend of the show, who does the Hippy Dippy Roundtable podcast thing, and yes, he went fucking mental. He went beast mode for an entire hour. Fuck me, that was fun. So yeah, we did a show. I did a show on them. How are the cats? Well, it's interesting that you're still using plural. I've got Rory Cats, he's behind me having a sleep, because that's how cats be. But there's only one cat here now. Chopsy, God rest his soul, did not make it through 2020. Got into a fight with a car, and unfortunately on this occasion, he lost. but it's the way he would have wanted to go. So, yeah. Anyway, that was ages ago, though, so you've not been keeping up with the news at all, have you? But again, you can rectify that by following me on Streamlabs. Fun times. Yes. A noise happened. What was the noise? By the way, we'll get to the show at some point as well. I'm just sort of doing the small talk at the start to let people sort of filter in and all of that. Because I'm like a professional now. So. Rory Katz, you are not the real Rory Katz. He's behind me now. I can literally see. He doesn't have any kind of internet linked device on him, so he can't be tweeting. Not tweeting. He can't be in the chat. He can't be. It's not possible. Don't be sad for Chopsy. He lived his best life. That's not really true in the sense that we didn't get to spend much time with him, but he had a good last sort of 18 months with us, whatever it was. Man was a fucking legend. A fat, fluffy-faced legend. Anyway, so yeah, noise happened. What happened? Something. Is Jared Leto good at math? Says. Thank you for the $1. Do you think Jesse Lee Peterson is good at math? I think he's probably not good enough to realise that it's plural, and therefore should be maths. It's mathematics, not mathematic. But Jesse Lee Peterson is a douche. But we're talking about a different Peterson today. An altogether very different Peterson. By which I mean he's basically just Jordan Peterson, but with... basically, Jesse Lee Peterson is Jordan Peterson wrapped in black skin. Is that racist? I hope not. I hope you understand where I'm going with that. Yeah, anyway. And I like the fact that whoever's behind the is X person good at math thing that donates to me on the regular, you know I get your real name, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I think it's a fine and funny conceit, but when it flashes up, it tells me the official thing. I know what your real name is. I'm not going to do... Look, that's not a threat. I'm not going to do anything with it. But, you can't remain incognito with me, boy. / girl. I don't fucking know. Anyway, yes. So, you are not Spartacus. Nobody is Spartacus. Spartacus died over 2,000 years ago. Okay? Just saying. Anyway. So, yeah, oh, by the way, if you wanted to give money under an assumed name or your real name, you can do so at streamlabs.com/KFLogan1875. That's streamlabs.com/KFLogan1875. And obviously you can subscribe to me on the YouTubes, you can follow me on the Twitches, you can subscribe to me on the Twitches, either by giving your money to me and Jeff Bezos, or if you've already given your money to Jeff Bezos by an Amazon Prime subscription, which would make you a very bad leftist indeed, obviously, but you can rectify that by becoming a good leftist and giving your free subscription to me every month. That's how that works. It's socialist mathematics. And again, mathematics, plural. Anyway, talking of socialisms and not applying it in any kind of correct way whatsoever, we come to tonight's first piece of serious proceedings. Glenn Greenwald. Formerly, you may remember him from such movies as Being a Good Journalist in the past and Edward Snowden. Now, he's not that. Oh, we've got a Rory Katz. He's awake. Yep. Oh, just punched the microphone. We'll get to it. By the way, that's cream for a burn. Not it's not snot, I promise you. Anyway, so this is going to be less cute now, but anyway. Say hello to everyone, Roddy Kids. Don't just slow blink. No, 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 no. Shall I riffle his head? Yeah. Yeah, I burnt my face with some hot soup. It was very annoying. Anyway. Where are we? There we go. Rory Katz, he lives. He lives. But he's not in the chat. That person is a lie. Sponkong for Kev's face. Is that just a request or what? Hot soup. He is a sweet baby, that is definitely true. Were Churchill and the Nazis ever allies, or did they have a common enemy in Greece? I'm trying to make sense of some of the history there. What? What's that in relation to? It is the Spanish Republic flag, specifically one with the weird triangle star thing, and the writing in Spanish. It's the International Brigades flag. So, yeah. Anyway. Don't just dunk. No, I did use a spoon, and it splashed on me. It also splashed a little bit on my chin, but thankfully the beard stopped it. Literally, I was protected by the beard. No, Churchill and the Nazis were never allies. And they didn't have a common enemy in Greece. The Nazis invaded Greece, of course, and took it over. And then after the Second World War, the Britain, typical of Britain, sent British troops into Greece to fight the Spanish partisans. The Socialist partisans. In fact, actually, a guy I used to know, he's now very dead. But when we were kids, he was a friend of my father's who had fought in the British Navy. And when he was... pardon me, 1 second. Anyhow, he was in the British Navy during the Second World War. He was actually moored off Melbourne Harbour, or Melbourne Harbour, in Australia when the nuclear bomb went off in Hiroshima. Or at least when the news reached them. Anyway, so he was like, and he'd signed up early when he was before he was age and stuff, and they didn't check because they didn't care. Anyway, that doesn't matter. The point being, after the war, he stayed in the Navy for a few years, for a couple of years, and it was due to be sent to as part of the naval task force to take on the Socialists in Greece, and refused to, and was court-martialed and dishonourably discharged, and had to serve. I think it was 6 months in jail or something. It was awful. Anyway, because he said he wouldn't go and fight fellow socialists. He'd only joined the Navy to stop the Nazis. There you go. Anyway, so, yeah, that's a thing. Not relevant to Glenn Greenwald in any real way. But, there we go. It popped into my mind. Yes. So... Glenn Greenwald is an idiot. I think we've mentioned this before. Okay, he is undoubtedly quite a ridiculous human being, and I think he's outdone himself on this occasion. Though, like I say, used to be a journalist, now really not a journalist, and he was talking to the Daily Caller, naturally, and said, I think, what might be the dumbest shit in the history of the world. Like, literally the dumbest shit ever. Like, this is what happens when you go down the Nazbol pipeline, when you enter the red-brown Nazbol vortex of dumbassery. This is the kind of logic that you end up coming up with. Thank you to Entropy, who subscribed with Prime on Amazon. Legend.
And I, would describe a lot of people on the right as being socialists. I would consider Steve Bannon to be a socialist. I would consider the 2016 iteration of Donald Trump, the candidate, to be a socialist based on what he was saying.
Steve Bannon and Donald Trump. Steve Bannon and Donald Trump are socialists. Which basically means that word doesn't mean anything anymore, does it? That word has ceased to have any meaning and structure. Basically everything is socialist now, it would appear. Just everything.
I consider Tucker Carlson to be a socialist. Now if you have...
Tucker Carlson's a socialist. Literally that word means nothing. Steve Bannon's a socialist. Donald Trump's a socialist. Tucker Carlson's a socialist. Squirrels are socialist. A refuse bag filled with Vaseline is socialist. The Mona Lisa is socialist. The number 37 is socialist. Fishing boats are socialist. Fucking Christmas trees are socialist. Skinny jeans. Antarctica. Overly large ferrets. Tide pods. It's all socialist. I mean, you think you're going to switch off now? Not a chance. You're going to listen to the list of absurd shit that I now think is socialist because the word doesn't mean anything. Fucking end me. This timeline has to be the dumbest shit ever. Why does this timeline exist? Of all the things that could happen, this is where we ended up. Just absolute fucking gibberish.
Governor Cuomo, who wants to give, tens of millions of dollars to Amazon to bring an office to New York. You have AOC, an actual self-identified socialist, standing up and saying, this is outrageous. And then you have Tucker Carlson going on his Fox News program and saying, I agree with her completely.
Right, so apparently if you agree with one person who isn't a socialist but calls himself a socialist about one thing, that means socialism. Don't know about you. I think Glenn Greenwald is a moron.
Because I think people are realizing that neoliberalism doesn't work. And I think the real right-left...
They are realising that, Glenn. That is certainly true. But that doesn't mean if you oppose neoliberalism, you're a socialist. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah, Pringle's a socialist. The Clone Wars is socialist. Absolutely, all of these things are socialist. Fuck it. Apparently, if you're not neoliberal, you're socialist, because that's the only two economic systems that exist. Fucking end me.
Difference to the extent that those terms even have any currency or coherence. I think you see in France too, like Marine Le Pen, the fascist far right candidate, when she ran both times, she ran to the left of Macron.
I want to scream. I want to actually scream and scream and scream. But unfortunately I have neighbours, and it's gone 11 PM at night. I can't scream. But every scintilla of my being tells me I should scream. Because what that fucking twat just said is one of the most wrong things he's ever said. And that comes after he said that Donald Trump, Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson were socialists. In that company, the thing he just said was fucking absurd. The fascist ran to the left of Macron. Now, don't get me wrong. Emmanuel Macron is such a piece of shit that if I stepped in him, I wouldn't even bother scraping him off the sole of my boot. I would just burn my shoes. I'd probably burn the socks as well, just in case, and then bleach my feet. That's how big a piece of shit he is. But the idea that Marine Le Pen ran to the left of him is mind-blowingly dumb. So stupid that Glenn Greenwald should never be listened to about anything ever again. He's a fucking moron. The thing is, and I think it is stupidity, I don't think he's lying. I don't think he's even lying about it. At least that would make sense. I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, he's lying. But a guy who used to be a proper journalist, a credible journalist, and now he's just so dumb that he says that fascists are running to the left of Macron, who's like a basic bitch neoliberal, really. Like he's nothing. Like, just fuck off, man. Holy shit.
For sure, but even the French socialists, in terms of wanting to give workers better benefits. And so I think the vision is...
Hang on. Did he just say that she ran to the left of the French socialists? If he's talking about the Socialist Party, which is a suck-dem party... Suck-dem. No, I got it right first time. A suck-dem party, then that's still wrong, but at least is like... because they're basically kind of centrist. Whereas he's talking about, was it Jean-Luc Mélenchon, the leftist candidate guy? That's even worse. Like, why are you making apology for fascism, Glenn? Seriously, mate, this is fucking absurd. This is really absurd.
You know, you have this kind of right-wing populism, which really is socialism, that says we should close our borders, not allow unconstrained immigration, and then...
Right-wing populism is socialism because they say shut down the borders. Right-wing populism is socialism because they say shut down the borders. Right-wing populism is socialism because they said shut down the borders. Are you aware of the concept of called an internationalist? By any means, Glenn. In order to be a socialist, realistically, you do have to be, at least on some level, an internationalist. You don't have to believe in complete internationalism, but you have to give a fuck about your fellow man, woman, child, non-binary person, whatever. You cannot be a socialist and say, shut down the borders. No, you can believe to a certain extent, especially statist socialists, in having borders. That's fine. But what you just described was essentially the beginnings of fascism, because that's precisely what right-wing populism is. It's fascism. And the likes of you and Jimmy Dore and your other red-brown acolytes, Infrared, for instance, or Caleb Mockin. That's a delightful turn of phrase. Caleb Moppin. Can I get some BKs in chat for Burger King, please? You red-brown dipshits don't seem to realise, or are happy to lie and say, oh, there's a connection between left and right-wing populism. No, there isn't. Right-wing populism is fascism. It is the enemy of socialism. It always has been, and it always fucking will be. You're so dense, Glenn. I fucking hate you. Please fuck off. Rory Cuts is scratching at the door. I need to go open the door. I think he wants to go outside, so I'm going to need to put you on the music for just a second, because Cats is a prick. And I'll get to the noise as well, wouldn't that? Yeah. Yeah. This time I had at least left the cat flap shut. There was a reason for it. Yes. Anyway. We are going to get to some funny shit with Jordan Peterson in a bit, but one piece of nonsense, or should I say several pieces of nonsense really, from Britain. I don't cover British news all that often, because it depresses me to a point where I find it difficult to focus, frankly, because I'm from here, you know. America's kind of distant enough where it doesn't viscerally like fucking hurt me or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it does hurt me further down the line in terms of its impacts, but the actual news itself is sort of distant enough where it's less horrific, you know? Like, anyway. Someone's put a thing in chat. Apologies. I'll check that out. Shut up, Logan. I find something relevant. What's this? Oh, hang on. What's this? Oh, we can't play Simpsons bits. That'll definitely get shut down. But thank you, nonetheless. Joe the Cop, hello. Yes. So, but I occasionally like to pipe up with a bit of British nonsense. Britain is a deeply broken place. Economically, socially. In terms of its media. In terms of its voting patterns. It's a very, very broken, fucked up place. And I have to live here. It's very, very annoying. This is a short video of a queue of people at a food bank in East London. London, you know, the capital of the country, one of the great cities of the world, the capital of the fifth largest economy on earth, where we've got bread lines so long that it basically makes us look like a third world country. Yeah. Snaking all the way down the fucking street. See a lot of brown faces in this queue as well. That's sort of by design. A lot of racism in terms of the economy of Britain. A lot of fuckery going on. Someone asks in the Twitch chat, are Tories basically fascists? Yes and no. Firstly, like all political parties, they are an amalgam of different types of people. There are certainly fascists among them. And they're certainly prepared to play the same culture war bullshit of the populist right, who we were just told are socialists, but they're not. They're sort of neoliberal in many respects. If you look at the fact that their 2021 budget was released, was it today or yesterday? I can't even remember. Anyway, and basically most of the tax increases will be felt by the poor, although there will be a marginal increase in tax rate, so that's something, I suppose, but really not a lot. Most of the tax increases will be felt by the poorest, and indeed 90% of the money that will be raised from that will actually be spent in terms of national expenditure will go to Tory areas. Literally 90% of it. So they're taxing the poor to subsidise the not quite so poor and rich. Yeah. So there's fascist elements, let's say. It's a bit more complicated than some political parties around the world, but yeah, it is the classic reverse Robin Hood, indeed. So that's taking place, right? We've got food bank usage going through the roof. Homelessness is fucking booming. It's one of the only industries in Britain that's actually doing well. And by industries, I mean industries of human misery. We have this privatised a satirical magazine, but this is just actually true. Coronavirus update. March the 1st, 2020. Traveller from hotspot destination allowed to enter the UK carrying the coronavirus and return home to spread it, with the authorities having no idea who or where they are. £22 billion of test and trace money later. That's literally £22 billion of public money. My money. I mean, I haven't paid all £22 billion in tax, but you get the idea. Going to private industry, going to largely people who are either donors of or close familial/friend relationships with top Tory ministers, and we don't have a track and trace system at all. As it says there, March the 1st, 2021, and it's literally the same sentence. We are one of the most profoundly corrupt nations on earth. They're not even trying to hide it. The Conservative government are not even remotely trying to hide it. They will deny it when asked about it, but it's pretty fucking bad. So you'd think, therefore, that they'd be very unpopular, right? No, they're actually 13 points clear in polling by YouGov. 13 points clear. But we were told any other leader but Jeremy Corbyn would be 20 points ahead in the polls. They elected Sir Keir Starmer, otherwise known as Keith, which is it's just mocking, really. And yeah, he's gone to the right in virtually every possible conceivable way. He's even doing the weird flag shagging bit now, and it isn't working. We're in a worse state than when Jeremy Corbyn was leader of the Labour Party. The British people are scum. Not all of them, of course, but we're talking about a fair portion of them. When 45% of the country are prepared to vote for a mass murderous, corrupt, incompetent, racist, homophobic, transphobic, shitbag party, it makes you think there's no hope. There's no hope. There's no hope. There's no fucking hope. And talking of the transphobia inherent in the British Isles, it gets even better. Thankfully, it's not new legislation, but it might end up being, maybe, at some point. Our old friend Glinner pops his ugly head back into the conversation. Do you remember Glinner, who has harassed loads and loads of people and sent dick pics to people on Mumsnet? Yeah, funny times. Disgraced writer Graham Linehan is to discuss free speech in Parliament after being banned from Twitter for hateful conduct. By the way, he was banned like 2 years ago. Fuck me. Anyway. Graham Linehan has been invited to give evidence in Parliament on, quote, freedom of expression online, unquote, after being permanently banned from Twitter for hateful conduct. The disgraced comedy writer and anti-trans campaigner is set to give oral evidence to the Communications and Digital Committee on Tuesday the 9th. And I would advise any British person as well, have sent an email to that committee outlining the ways in which he himself has caused other people's freedom of expression to be curtailed by his horrific dogpiling activities. He will be joined by Helen Stanaland, a software engineer and prominent anti-trans figure. That advert needs to fuck off. Sorry. anti-trans figure who also kicked off Twitter for violating the platform's conduct policies. The pair will be followed by speakers from the Open Rights Campaign and the Society for Civil Rights, two organisations working to protect freedom of speech online. Quote, "Debates and exchanges of information and content increasingly take place online," reads an introduction to the inquiry. The internet has enabled individuals to publish and share their views with large audiences in a way that was not previously possible. This inquiry will investigate how public policy can best protect the right of freedom of expression on the internet and how that right should be balanced with other priorities. Unquote. It follows Graham Linehan's recent attempt to speak at the Oxford Union Debate Society on, quote, cancel culture, otherwise known as consequences for one's actions. Nice. Before his invitation was withdrawn amid student protests. He has long contested his Twitter ban, which came in June 2020. Oh, so it's actually less than a year then. Okay, well, still. After willful and repeated violations of the platform's rules against hateful conduct and platform manipulation. He continued to voice his anti-trans views to an online audience via Substack, Medium and Telegram, and in interviews with the Telegraph and LGB Alliance. Also on the BBC, where he was interviewed as if he was an expert on trans issues, which he isn't. He's literally not any kind of medical professional at all. I think he does have a doctorate in bullshit, but that's not quite the same thing. Yet he views his exclusion from Twitter as proof that he is being silenced for his controversial opinions. Graham Linehan's behaviour has raised further concerns over the last few months, with his attempting to sneak back onto Twitter and the lesbian dating app Her by pretending to be a trans person. The question of why such an individual was considered appropriate to give evidence that may influence public policy was raised by Pink News to Lord Gilbert of Panteg, which doesn't sound like a real place, but apparently is. Where's Panteg? It sounds Welsh to me, if I had to guess. And I'm right. It's a large village and community in the county borough of Torfaen, Wales. Between the Cwmbran and Pontypool. Okay, so there we go. And by the way, when it says a lord of such a place, they're not elected by any of the people there. No member of the House of Lords is ever elected. It's a disgrace. Who is chair of the Communications and Digital Committee? The Conservative peer, Cal Surprise, was asked to justify the decision to give a prominent platform to a person who, with a long documented history of hateful conduct, and to clarify why a persistent violation of Twitter policies constitutes a free speech issue. He is also known to been asked to confirm what measures, if any, are being taken to ensure the committee maintains balance on the subject of trans rights. Lord Gilbert has yet to offer a reply. So basically we're going to have like a trans wank fest, an anti-trans wank fest. And they're probably going to invite maybe one or two pro-trans people, but it's mainly going to be like a Tory anti-trans circle jerk, which will be as edifying as anything else that happens in that chamber, I'm sure, but still, absolutely disgusting. I hate this place. I hate it so much. But anyway, there's the news from Britain. It's garbage. Anyway, JBP. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about, or watch a video from him and talk about as we go along his new book. He's got a new book. I made a joke on this channel a long time ago that JBP was going to wait a while and then come back with 12 more rules for life. Thinking, well, he won't do that. That'll be such naked opportunism. He wouldn't do that. That's what he's done. And he goes through that in a little bit of a... is alt caps ableism? Oh, I didn't... Is it? Okay, I mean, okay, you, probably best to explain that to me off air. I didn't realise the alternate caps thing was... I thought that was just like a SpongeBob meme. Oh, I didn't realise that. Sorry. Okay, well, if you want to explain that to me off air, then I'm all ears. I don't want to be ableist. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yes. So, JBP, he's got a new book out. It's the same old absolute fucking garbage that it always was. Okay. This delightful person, whose name I won't reveal, like I said, has changed their name now to Jair Bolsonaro is a socialist. Why not? Thank you for the $1. Milton Friedman was a socialist, and Thomas Sowell is a socialist. Trump is further to the left than Biden. Kim Iverson. True. Nothing but facts. Wall-to-wall facts there. Yes, anyway. Streamlabs.com/KFLogan1875. The link is below in the YouTube video if you want to also join in with weird quotes and stuff. Because there's no way YouTube are ever going to monetize me. I'm never getting that super chat fucking function back. So I've built my... Well, I say I built my own. I've got a fucking... I've got a Streamlabs. They did all the work, really. Anyway. So, yes. We're going to be looking at that video in a moment. But I wanted to... Someone put this in the thing... in the chat before we started. And it's the Vic Berger compilation of some of his weirdness, and it's just so funny. I thought, fuck it, yeah, we'll do this. Bollocks to it. It's a bit of fun.
One of the things I thought about with regards to the abortion issue is that it's by the time you're talking about abortion, you're probably having the wrong conversation, which is why it's so deeply polarized. Right? There's a sequence of bad decisions.
Hang on, why is it skipping forward? Don't skip forward.
Would you have voted for Donald Trump if you lived in America?
I think what I would have done was walk into the voting booth with the intention of voting for Clinton, and then at the last minute gone, to hell with it, I'm not doing it, and voted for Trump. I think that's what I would have done.
That's so typical of Jordan Peterson. He gives a long-winded answer for basically, yes. Yes, I would have voted for Donald Trump. Lace Argar, legend, says, I'm a fishy fishy fish, I'm a fishy fishy fish, I'm a fishy fishy fish, I'm a fish, and I'm black pill, I'm black pill, blah blah, I'm blah 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 blah, and Antifa, fuck the fashy fashy fash, fuck tea. Well, thank you. Thank you for the donation, and thank you for making me read that. Fun times. Yeah, and Lace is one of the good bods in the community. I'm looking at the rest of you who aren't good bods. Anyway. Apparently it's really difficult for screen readers to read. What is? Oh, the alternate caps. Oh, okay, so it's not that the actual meme itself is... It's that the alternate caps is difficult to... Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, yeah. Okay, well, I'll bear that in mind. Yeah. Oh, cool. Okay, well, yeah, like I say, I'll bear that in mind for future. I didn't know that before. See, it's a process of learning.
Abortion is obviously a key issue, but it's one that's unbelievably contentious. One of the things I thought about with regards to the abortion issue is that it's by the time you're talking about abortion, you're probably having the wrong conversation, which is why it's so deeply polarized. Right? There's a sequence of bad decisions that have already occurred by the time that's the conversation. And one of the things you see that's really quite interesting, and I just started to think about it this way, we haven't figured out what it means for women to have control over the reproductive function, or what the consequences what the consequences of that should be socially. The leftist types, especially in the 60s, thought you could just...
God almighty. Have you ever seen a series of more bored people?
Sexual morality apart completely, because now people are free to do what they want. But that isn't working. There's a backlash against that on the left as well. So it would be... Well, it would be fun and necessary to think fun. It would be engaging and necessary to think fun.
I want maybe there's a lot of your speech today to be questions, if you can, because this audience would love.
How much of it?
70%, if possible.
All right, so how long do you want me to talk?
He has such a small face.
I think we have you slated for quite a long time.
I don't know what this should be. At my workplace at the university, I've been warned innumerable times not to have a discussion with the student, male or female, but it's the females that are of concern with the door shut. But I don't listen to that because I think, sorry, I'm not living that way. I'm not living that way. You know, I've also been accused 3 times in my career of sexual impropriety, and the last one really tangled me up for a whole year. Some of the more academic pursuits might be more suited to women specifically, because they don't require as much sort of brute strength and they don't require as much interest in things.
Interest in things. Can I get a straw poll of the ladies in the audience? Are you interested in things? Can we have? We'll have 1 for yes, 2 for no. Are you interested in things? I don't know. I can't wait to see the results of this incredibly scientific straw poll on my part. Where are we? Oh yeah, thank you to Red Queen Hypothesis for following. And if you are indeed a Red Queen, you can also vote in this incredibly scientific poll I'm putting out there. We've got ones, got some ones there. Okay, good. Classic lady behaviour. Natalie's not interested in things. Okay. No, that's righteous. No, if you're not interested in things, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, lots of ones. Things are socialist. That is, the thing is, things are socialist is at least in part true, because some things are socialist. Whereas Donald Trump is not. That joke is more accurate than the thing that Glenn Greenwald said, literally.
And joining us now, Jordan Peterson, professor of psychology at the University of Toronto. And Jordan, it's always good to have you. Thanks for coming back tonight.
No, Angeline, no. I did not offer a third option. You're either interested in things, or you are not interested in things. Those are your options, okay? Trying to come in here with your third options and stuff. Do you think this is a democracy? Outrageous.
I feel like women wearing makeup in the workplace contributes to sexual harassment in the workplace.
Sure, it contributes.
Do you feel like if she wears makeup in the workplace that she is somewhat being critical?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do think that.
Why aren't either of these men wearing shoes? I mean, it's not the biggest thing in the world, it's just weird.
Women are innately competitive too.
Women
They
can be
compete about
competitive too,
beauty
yeah.
often. If I'm in a mixed gender discussion group, I have to basically remove about 90% of myself. Because if I was who I am, the discussion wouldn't even get off the ground. I have to rein myself in and be so polite with the women I've worked with. Politeness trumps truth.
Politeness trumps truth.
You bet. It's very easy for people to come forward with accusations and demolish someone's reputation. That's trial by public opinion.
So, I mean,
And we don't have any conversation about the other side of the coin. You don't think women manipulate men sexually for advancement in the workplace? Now, I've been accused 3 times of sexual impropriety.
do you think men and women can work in the workplace together
I don't know.
without sexual harassment?
We'll see. That's part of the problem, right? Is that we don't know what the rules are. Like, what? Here's a rule. How about no makeup in the workplace?
Why would that be a rule?
That's always been so dumb, because like loads of workplaces require women to wear makeup. Oh, God, he's so weird.
Why should you wear makeup in the workplace? Isn't that sexually provocative?
No.
It's not?
No.
Why do you make your lips red? Because they turn red during sexual arousal. That's why. Why do you put rouge on your cheeks? Same reason. How about high heels? What are they for?
What about high heels?
What about them? They're there to exaggerate sexual attractiveness. That's what high heels do. They tilt your pelvis forward so your hips stick out. That's what they do. And they tighten up your calf muscles. That's what they do. They're a sexual display. Now, I'm not saying that people shouldn't use sexual displays in the workplace. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that that is what they're doing.
God almighty, what a fucking freak. What an actual freak.
And that is what they're doing. I've also been accused 3 times in my career of sexual assault. Increasingly among my students, I see young men who don't know
literally wearing a fucking fedora.
How to be good men. My son wasn't allowed to throw a snowball, for example, in elementary school. It was against the rules for him to even pick up snow off the ground.
Especially the yellow snow. Don't do it.
It is in that manner that decent boys are made to feel guilty about their masculine impulses. I've been accused 3 times in my career of sexual impropriety. So they withdraw, confused. The more aggressive, psychopathic boys, they simply don't care. So they'll be the ones fathering your grandchildren in the future. If tomorrow's woman can find a man to sleep with at all, that'll keep the testosterone flowing. That'll keep the testosterone flowing.
Do you think a trans woman is a real woman? Do you think a trans woman is a woman?
No.
There's no comparison between Mao and a trans activist, is there?
Why not?
Why not?
Because trans activists aren't killing millions of people?
The philosophy that's guiding their utterances is the same philosophy.
It's not. It's literally not. Well, unless you're a Maoist trans person, in which case, okay, whatever.
So here's something to think about. I follow these pickup artists online. Been very interested in their use of psychology. Something to think about. Something to think about. Something to think about. Something to think about.
Jordan Peterson, thanks for joining us. Jordan Peterson joins us tonight. It's an honor to have you. Jordan Peterson joins us tonight. Professor, thanks for coming on. Jordan Peterson, thanks for joining us tonight.
Good morning to you, Doctor. Dr. Jordan Peterson. Doctor, good morning to you. Thanks for morning.
Wow, he appears on Fox almost as much as Jimmy Dore.
Couch call today.
The political landscape on the left side has shifted way over to the radical.
People who have that victimized mentality, where they are the victim, woe is me.
Remember that victim mentality for when we get to his books.
Do you see that more and more? Is that like a millennial thing, or is it?
You saw the same thing to some degree in Nazi Germany.
Hitler.
Hitler felt very victimized. Yeah, Hitler claimed that the Jews were victimizing Germany, essentially. And so once you're a victim and you have all the moral status that goes along with being a victim, then you can't do any wrong, essentially. So,
interesting discussion.
Is it an interesting discussion?
I think women manipulate men sexually. So here's what you should have done if you were a Nazi and you wanted to win the war.
Here's what you should have done if you're a Nazi and you wanted to win the war. Fucking hell.
I know Obama was 7 cent, but ever since Trump won, I felt like I could be president.
Oh yeah, it goes into other grifters now, so we'll leave it. But anyway. Yes, so JBP. What you be? Anyway, so yes, he's releasing this new book. And
you have your reasons.
Shut the fuck up. I didn't ask you to speak yet, dickhead. It's called Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Oh yes. So, he's going to take us through it. The first couple of minutes are him saying like thank you to people. So, or the first minute 20, whatever. And then he goes through his the chapter titles and then reads us some excerpts, and it's my. It's the same fucking word salad, pseudo-intellectual garbage it was before. But the worst bit's because these ones didn't even make the cut for the first 12. So fucking God knows what this trash is going to be.
Is that people found my last book, 12 Rules for Life, helpful and engaging, and I hope very much that the same thing will prove true of this new book. I'm going to read the 12 rules from this book, and then I'm going to read some excerpts from it so that you can get a sense of the book. These 12 rules, like the 12 rules in the previous book, were drawn from a longer list of 42 that I published on Quora. Rule 1, Do not carelessly denigrate social institutions or creative achievement.
Ooh.
Rule 2. Imagine who you could be and then aim single-mindedly at that. Rule 3. Do not hide unwanted things in the fog.
That doesn't mean anything. That's absolute nonsense. Oh, do you just get that endorphin rush of word salad nonsense? Oof, beautiful.
Rule 4. Notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility has been abdicated.
Doesn't really mean anything either, just pseudo-scientific or pseudo-intellectual conservative guff. Good stuff.
Rule 5. Do not do what you hate. Rules.
Do good things and don't do not good things.
6. Abandon ideology.
I can't believe this fucking twat who's going on about religion, the importance of religion and Western civilization and Hegelian fucking philosophy and Aristotelian dialogue, all this shit, right? Is now saying, abandon ideology. Fucking hell. He's fucking... Like, at least clean your room up was good. In the sense that, yeah, cleaning rooms is generally positive. That's like a good thing to do. This is just gibberish.
Rule 7. Work as hard as you possibly can on at least one thing and see what happens.
And see what happens. Okay.
Rule 8. Perhaps my favorite. Try to make one room in your home as beautiful as possible.
That's literally... That's his favourite of them all. And it's literally just a slightly jazzed up version of clean your room. He's literally become a meme of himself. If one of these ends up being number 9, fuck a lobster, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to fucking lose it. Oh. What a journey, eh?
Rule 9. If old memories still upset you, write them down carefully and completely.
Now, this actually, hang on, we'll go. So it's on the screen for everybody. This is where he becomes slightly more dangerous. Like, a lot of his stuff is either meaningless platitudes or kind of word salad gibberish or whatever, or the occasional piece of good advice like clean your room. Sitting up straight's good for your posture, you know, that's fine. This is where it can become rather dangerous, though. Because whilst for some people, a really helpful way of getting past their experiences is to write them down. To literally confront the experience by reliving it in your mind and writing it down and then reading it back to yourself. That can be a really helpful method of working through problems. But as with all psychology, for some people that would be a phenomenally bad piece of advice. That would be a potentially incredibly triggering piece of advice to give, right? Or would be a triggering process to undergo. If that person took that advice, went through it, and it reinforced the trauma, and then led to them going through avoidance behaviour and stuff, you could actually trigger a real psychological downward spiral for that person. And as a psychologist, he really ought to know that. This is the one area he should be able to understand. He's a tenured psychology professor at the University of Toronto. He should be able to understand that that is an irresponsible thing to put out there. Because for some people, reliving that trauma in that way, especially without the guided assistance of a trained psychologist or trained psychiatrist, would be incredibly dangerous. Incredibly fucking dangerous. Like, potentially suicidal ideation type dangerous. Potentially suicide triggering dangerous. Don't fucking do that.
If old memories still upset you, write them down carefully and completely. Rule 10, plan and work diligently to maintain the romance in your relationship.
Well, that's fine, assuming you're in a relationship. And Jordan largely understands his audience, but on this one he hasn't, because many of them are, I can't use the word on Twitch, can I? So I'll just say, they are, how do I put this? You know when someone doesn't have sex, but they're not choosing to not have sex. So it's not a voluntary form of not having sex. It's like an involuntary version of that. Lots of his audience are that thing. Yes.
Rule 11. Do not allow yourself to become resentful, deceitful, or arrogant.
Well, too late for your audience, JBP.
And Rule 12. Be grateful in spite of your suffering.
Remember when I said earlier to remember that victim narrative? Be grateful in spite of your suffering. So you're presupposing suffering. You're presupposing that all of the people watching or reading this have been suffering and are going through suffering right now. So you're literally playing the kind of victim on behalf of yourself and the audience. So, good job. Also, yes, I forgot to say, they might not be in a relationship because they're aromantic. Indeed. That is also true.
Each of these rules is accompanied by an illustration. As in the case of my previous book, this time the illustrator is Yulia Fogra, and she's...
Now, these drawings are actually pretty dope, I have to say. I quite like some of these.
And I think a lovely job. We held a competition for the illustrations, and her work was, at least in my opinion, the best of the bunch. And she's produced these lovely artworks that have a classical fairy tale appeal. And so I think they add a bit of beauty to the book. So I'm going to read a couple of sections now. The first reading is from Rule 3. And to remind...
Rule 3, do not hide anything in the fog. It's literally the Dragon of Chaos. He's bringing back the greatest hits, people. It's the Dragon of Chaos. I do amuse myself with silliness at times. I'm a grown-up.
And Rule 3 is, do not hide unwanted things in the fog. And this is from a subsection entitled, What is the Fog? Imagine that you are afraid.
I am afraid. I don't need to imagine. I'm afraid, Jordan. I'm afraid of the things that are socialisms, which are all the things, because everything is socialist. So.
You have reason to be. You're afraid of yourself. You're afraid of other people. You're afraid of the world. You're nostalgic for the innocence of the past.
He really does understand his audience. He so understands the people that follow him. You're scared of everything and you want it to go back to the way it was when white people ruled everything. He's basically just described the conservative in a nutshell. Beauty.
For the time before you learned the terrible things that shattered the trust characterizing your childhood, the knowledge you have gained of yourself, other people, in the world has embittered more than enlightened. You have been betrayed, hurt, and disappointed.
I can't say the word. But like I say, a person not having sex but not having chosen to not do that kind of a not voluntary person who's not having sex. That.
You've become distrustful even of hope itself, as your hope has been repeatedly shattered. And that is the very definition of hopelessness. The last thing you want to know is more. Better to leave what is enshrouded in mystery. Better as well to avoid thinking too much or at all.
Yeah, that again. Jordan Peterson knows his audience and knows what he needs his audience to do. Not think. Don't think about stuff. Just follow what I say and buy my books. I am afraid of myself because I am a socialist. That's true. Absolutely correct.
About what could be. When ignorance is bliss, after all, 'tis folly to be wise.
Yeah, throw in old idioms where it's not really necessary. The greatest hits, they're coming out, man. Seriously, if he says anything about inserting yourself into lobsters or some shit, oh, we've got bingo.
Imagine more precisely that you are so afraid that you will not allow yourself even to know what you want. Knowing would simultaneously mean hope.
I know what I want. I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. That's what I want.
Hoping, and your hopes have been dashed. You have your reasons for maintaining your ignorance. You're afraid, perhaps, that there is nothing worth wanting. You're afraid that if you specify what you want precisely, you will simultaneously discover and all too clearly what constitutes failure. You are afraid that failure is the most likely outcome. And finally, you are afraid that if you define failure and then fail, you will know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was you that failed and that it was your fault.
Actually, no. That isn't true. You can define failure in such a way that it doesn't necessarily have to have been your fault. Now, you should still obviously look at yourself and, introspect about what you could have done differently. But sometimes, like, if I want to say, fly, I want to fly. I want to be like a bird, happily, merrily skipping along the airwaves, flying with the wind beneath my wings and all of that shit. I set the failure as not being able to fly. If I then try and fly and fall and break my fucking legs, that wasn't entirely my fault in the sense that the thing I wanted to do was impossible. Now, that's a slightly on the nose way of, analogizing that particular point. But the basic thing is, there are some things that are beyond our control. There are some things that are beyond our possibility. Or beyond our weak and feeble bodies. So it's not always your fault. At all. But Jordan Peterson and his conservative mindset, if you fail, it's because of you. Even though he doesn't seem to realise that he failed in terms of living the moral life by becoming a drug-addled, COVID-infested human husk in a bed in Serbia. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you're a failure if you succumb to the addiction of drug abuse or whatever, right? I'm saying from his perspective, from the conservative perspective, that's how it's worked. But he doesn't seem to have looked in himself and introspected, because, again, he's broken one of his own rules here. Arrogance. Also, all he's doing here, in a roundabout way, is just describing self-doubt, which, who doesn't have some self-doubt?
So, you do not allow yourself to know what you want. You manage this by refusing to think it through. You are happy, satisfied, and engaged sometimes, and unhappy, frustrated, and nihilistic other times, but you will not inquire deeply into why, because then you would know. And then you would encounter yet again shattered hope and confirmed disappointment. You are also afraid, but for different reasons, to allow others to know what you want. First, if they were to find out just what you wanted, then they might tell you, and then you would know. Even if you...
What are you talking about? Yeah, both he and his daughter contracted COVID in, I think it was Slovakia or Serbia? One of the former Yugoslav S countries, where he was in hospital. Was he in a medically induced coma at one point, I think? Yeah. I think his daughter has been going through one of the most elaborate patricide arcs ever.
You were fighting against gathering that very knowledge. Second, if they knew, they could then deny you what you truly wanted, even needed, and hurt you much more efficiently than they might if your deepest desires, and therefore your vulnerabilities, remained secret.
He and his fan base are so broken. Are so absolutely and totally fucking broken. He's literally just... Look, I get the feeling that... Oh, no, Slovakia wasn't, was it? Slovenia. Apologies. Yes, no, my bad. Slovenia then. Alright, I get it. Okay, I said a slightly different name. Fuck me. Anyway, but I get the feeling that when Jordan Peterson comes up with this sort of stuff, he's essentially doing a kind of self-care thing, where he's just sort of putting his own shit out into the world under the guise of it being self-help for other people. And he and his fan base are pathetically broken individuals. It's really sad, actually, to think of what the human possibility that lies within all of those people. But there we go. Both countries were ex-Yugoslavia. I know! Right, both Slovenia and Serbia were both part of what was Yugoslavia. And it was in one of those countries that he was when this happened, is the point I'm making. I said Slovakia in a moment of Eastern and Central European geographic peak. But yeah, I meant Slovenia. Yeah. So, leave me the fuck alone.
The fog that hides is the refusal to notice, to attend to, emotions and motivational states as they arise, and the refusal to communicate them both to yourself and to the people who are close to you. A bad mood signifies something. A state of anxiety or sadness signifies something, and not likely something that will please you to discover. The most probable outcome of successfully articulating an emotion that has accrued without expression over time is tears, an admission of vulnerability and pain, which are also feelings that people do not like to allow, particularly when they are feeling distrustful and angry. Who wants to dig down into the depths of pain and grief and guilt until the tears emerge?
Well, some people probably do, and for some people that would be healthy. Again, as a psychologist, he doesn't seem to understand that different people require different methods for dealing with trauma. It's a thing.
And voluntary refusal to take notice of our emotional states is not the only impediment to dealing with them.
It's true. All Eastern European countries that begin with an S are hiding in the fog. It's correct.
If your wife or husband, or whomever else you are tangled up with unhappily at the moment, says something that comes too close to the painful truth, for example, then a sharp and insulting remark will often shut them up.
Will Jordan Peterson ever be Prime Minister of Canada? I don't know that he's met the blackface quota. Has he been in blackface enough to be Prime Minister of Canada? I don't know if he has. I'm not sure he's ever done blackface, which is just not good enough for the people of Canada, clearly.
And is therefore very likely to be offered. This is partly a test. Does the person being insulted care enough about you and your suffering to dig past a few obstacles and unearth the bitter truth? It is also partly and more obviously defensive. If you can chase someone away from something you yourself do not want to discover, that makes your life easier in the present. Sadly, it is also very disappointing if that defense succeeds, and is typically accompanied by a sense of abandonment, loneliness, and self-betrayal.
Again, he really knows his own fucking fans, man. Fuck me. He really does. That's why... That's why he's It was so strange to see him say, keep the love in your relationship or whatever. Because there's no fucking way he... There's no way that most of his fans are in a relationship. Not a fucking chance. Anyway, yeah.
You must nonetheless still live among other people, and they with you. And you have desires, wants, needs, and however unstated and unclear. And you are still motivated to pursue them, not least because it is impossible to live without...
He probably doesn't remember writing it, to be fair. The benzos fuck with your brain, man. He doesn't know if he wrote this. He could be reading the fucking Bible for all he knows.
Desire, want, and need. Your strategy? Under such conditions? Show your disappointment when someone close to you makes you unhappy. Allow yourself the luxury and pleasure of resentment when something does not go your way. Ensure that the person who has transgressed against you is frozen out by your disapproval. Force them to discover with as much difficulty as possible exactly what they have done to disappoint you.
So don't, communicate... I think his wife died, didn't she? I think. Yeah. Which is a kind of divorce, in a way. What was I going to say? Yeah, he's saying here, right, don't bother communicating in a healthy way with the people around you. Freeze them out and make them work really hard to get to the root of what they did that's upset you. What? That's like the worst advice possible. That's genuinely the most horrific way possible of dealing with that situation, other than going postal, I suppose. For the love of God, people, don't listen to Jordan Peterson. If you've got a problem with someone, communicate with them as openly as you can, as openly as you feel possible, or healthy for you. Let them know what they did that's annoyed you, and communicate about that, talk about that. Don't just freeze them out, because ultimately that will create a distance between you, which will widen and widen, and distrust because of potential secret keeping and stuff, and ultimately poison and cancer, and introduce a cancer into your relationship. Don't follow Jordan Peterson's advice.
And finally, let them grope around blindly in the fog that you have generated around yourself until they stumble into and injure themselves on the sharp hidden edges of your unrevealed preferences and dreams. And maybe these responses are tests too. Tests deeply associated with the lack of courage to trust. If you really loved me, you would brave the terrible landscape that I have arrayed around myself to discover the real me.
So basically, be a massive prick and do loyalty tests on the people around you to see if they're prepared to put in needless emotional labour to try and unpick your pathetic self-defence mechanisms, which again will tire them to the point where they will begin to not love you anymore. This guy's a trained psychologist. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me?
And perhaps there is even something to such claims, implicit though they may be. A certain testing of commitment might have its utility. Everything does not have to be given away for free. But even a little unnecessary mystery goes a long way. And you must still live with yourself. In the short term, perhaps you are protected from the revelation of your insufficiency by your refusal to make yourself clear. Every ideal is a judge, after all. The judge who says, you are not manifesting your true potential. No ideals? No judge.
Why the fuck has he chosen this camera angle as well? So, for the most part, when he's looking down reading, you just seen the top of his fucking head. Which, by the way, Jordan, is thinning. Just saying, my bro. It's fine, don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with that, just saying. Yeah, just lower the camera down a little bit, so that even when you're looking down, we still see your fucking face. Or bring your chair up, whatever. Either way, level it off a bit.
Judge. But the price paid for that is purposelessness. This is a high price. No purpose, then no positive emotion, as most of what drives us forward with hope intact is the experience of approaching something we deeply need and want. And worse, when we are without purpose, chronic, overwhelming anxiety, as focused purpose constrains what is otherwise likely to be the intolerable chaos of unexploited possibility and too much choice.
Hang on. Now, unless I'm misunderstanding him here, did he just say that anxiety is good? Because, am I wrong there? Am I misinterpreting his words? I think he was just going on about how anxiety is good because it blocks out doubt or something. Help me out here, people. That seems fucking crazy to me. Absolutely insane. He's like the worst. He's like the worst psychologist I've ever fucking heard of. Is that not what he said? What was he saying then? Gepisar. What was his actual prognostication about? Because it's difficult to follow him because he's such a boring fuck. And it's a lot of word salad that you have to try and parse. I don't know. Anyway.
If you make what you want clear and commit yourself to its pursuit, you may fail. But if you do not make what you want clear, then you will certainly fail. You cannot hit a target that you refuse to see. You cannot hit a target if you do not take aim. And equally dangerously, in both cases, you will not accrue the advantage of aiming, but missing. You will not benefit from the learning that inevitably takes place when things do not go your way. Success at a given endeavor often means trying, falling short, recalibrating with the new knowledge generated painfully by the failure, and then trying again and falling short, often repeated ad nauseum. Sometimes all that learning, impossible without the failure, leads you to see that aiming your ambition in a different direction would be better. Not because it is easier, not because you have given up, not because you are avoiding, but because you have learned through the vicissitudes of your experience that what you seek is not to be found where you were looking, or is simply not attainable in the manner by which you chose to pursue it.
There we go. So, using 1,000,000 words when 10 would have done. Yeah, sometimes you can't get what you want, so you try a different thing. I mean, okay, cool. Yeah, trial and error is a thing, absolutely. It's not exactly groundbreaking, but okay.
So, what might you do? What should you do as an alternative to hiding things in the fog? Admit to your feelings. This is a very tricky matter, and it does not simply mean give in to them. First, noting, much less communicating, feelings of petty anger or pain due to lonesomeness or anxiety about something that might be trivial or jealousy that is likely unwarranted is embarrassing. The admission of such feelings is a revelation of ignorance, insufficiency, and vulnerability. Second, it is unsettling to allow for the possibility that your feelings, however overwhelming and convincing, might be misplaced and in your ignorance pointing you in the wrong direction. It is possible that you have misinterpreted the situation entirely, for reasons of which you remain fundamentally unconscious. It is for such reasons that trust is vital, but trust of the mature and tragic sort. A naive person trusts...
Mature and tragic trust. Trust of the mature and tragic kind. No, that doesn't mean anything. That's nonsense. Like, I'm not even parsing it wrongly there. It's just shit.
Because he or she believes that people are essentially or even universally trustworthy. But any person who has truly lived has been or has betrayed.
Trust no one. I am a rock. I am an island. Look, should we just put some Linkin Park on for him? What?
Someone with experience knows that people are capable of deception and willing to deceive. That knowledge brings with it an arguably justified pessimism about human nature, personal and otherwise, but it also opens the door to another kind of faith in humanity, one based on courage rather than naivete. I will trust you. I will extend my hand to you, despite the risk of betrayal.
Oh God, it's so pathetic. His fans are so pathetic. He's having to repackage the vulnerability and potential naivety of trusting someone at first as courage. Now, to be fair, it is kind of courageous in some respects, in some instances, but to just say, it's courage, therefore you must... Look, he's having to talk to them like they're fucking 8. Because again, he knows his audience, basically. They're pathetic, broken children, in essence.
Because it is possible, through trust, to bring out the best in you, and perhaps in me.
Especially in you, Jordan.
So I will accept substantial risk to open the door to cooperation and negotiation. And even if you do betray me in a not too unforgivable manner, assuming a certain degree, shall we say, of genuine apology and contrition on your part,
He always uses so many more words than is necessary. Verbosity is not always good for you, Jordan. Sometimes being concise, being pithy, even laconic, one might say. See what I did there? I used verbosity. Anyway, sometimes being concise is good. It can be helpful.
I will continue to extend my hand. And part of the way I will do that is by telling you what I am feeling. A certain necessary humility must accompany such raw revelations.
There's no raw revelation here. Like, again, he's just bigging himself up. There's nothing... Basically, he's so far, he says stuff like, you miss all the shots you don't take. Again, not groundbreaking. Trial and error can be good. Like, there's no raw revelation in any of this. Any of it. And even if he's talking specifically there about the person who is potentially receiving this information and enacting it in their real lives, all you're asking is that they act like adults. It's not that big a deal. It really isn't. There's nothing profound going on here. It's the same empty, hollow shit you've been selling for the last, 5 years or more?
I should not say, at least not ideally, you have been ignoring me lately. I should say, instead, I feel isolated and lonely and hurt, and cannot help but feel that you have not been as attentive to me over the last few months as I would have liked, or that might have been best for us as a couple. But I'm unsure if I am just imagining all this because I'm upset, or if I am genuinely seeing what's going on. The latter statement gets the point across, but avoids the accusatory stance that so often serves as a first defense.
Okay, to the person in the Twitch chat. They're saying that the advice could be impactful for someone in an abusive relationship. Do you think, given that Jordan Peterson's entire oeuvre is aimed at, again, people who are not voluntarily not having sex, and their like. Do you think in the case of an abusive relationship, Jordan Peterson sides with the abused? Do you think Jordan Peterson is writing this book for someone who is the abused? No. He's writing this primarily and almost exclusively for abusers, for emotionally stunted, backward, hateful, unloving and unloved people. Often some of whom will who will become or already are abusers. He is the king of the abusers. Not that I'm saying he has necessarily abused anyone, that's not my intention there. He's the philosopher of the abuser. When he talks about things like, and I don't mean this as an attack upon you in any way, by the way, the person who brought this up, but I think it's worth illuminating a little. When Jordan Peterson has talked about things like enforced monogamy and how women wearing makeup or high heels in the workplace means that they're basically kind of to blame for sexual harassment in the workplace. When he talks about weird shit about how the Lobster hierarchy and how women, or not even women, but like women and beta males, although I'm not sure he necessarily uses that phraseology, but the basic point. He's talking specifically about the patriarchal, cis-normative, capitalist hegemony. He's talking about white supremacy. He's talking about that hierarchy and trying to keep that in place. He doesn't care a shit for someone who's been in an abusive relationship. Certainly not the abused person in that relationship. He's not doing this for that reason. So, whilst by pure happenstance that piece of advice he just gave may be of some use and impactful to an abused person, he's not doing it for that reason. That's just a freak coincidence. Nothing more.
Defense against a serious get to the bottom of things conversation. And it's very possible that you are wrong about just what it is that is causing you to feel the way you do. If you are, you need to know it, because there's no point in propagating errors that are causing you and others pain and interfering with your future. Best to find out what is true. Best to disperse the fog and find out if the sharp objects you feared were...
Disperse the fog. Hasn't defined what that means. I presume he's referring to some sort of mental fog or whatever, but with Peterson he might be talking about an actual fog. Was he talking about actual lobsters? Is he talking about an actual dragon of chaos? Who knows?
Lurking there...
He leaves it vague enough so it doesn't matter.
...are real or fantastical. And there is always the danger that some of them are real. But it is better to see them than to keep them occluded by the fog, because you can at least sometimes avoid the danger that you are willing to see. This is an excerpt from Rule 8. Try to make one room in your home as beautiful as possible.
So which is just a rehashing of clean your room. It's maybe a little bit jazzed up, we'll see, but wow. He's just doing the classics. He's doing the classic hits.
It's from a subsection entitled Memory and Vision. The pride of the peacock is the glory of God. The lust of the goat is the bounty of God. The wrath of the lion is the wisdom of God. The nakedness of woman is the work of God. Excessive sorrow laughs. Excessive joy weeps.
Can I just say, when he says the word God, it sounds ridiculous. God. God. Not relevant, just a thing that annoyed me when he said that. Also, yeah, when he's going about the work of God, isn't one of the fucking book chapters called "Get Rid of Abandon Ideology"? But now he's talking about God. Okay.
The roaring of lions, the howling of wolves, the raging of the stormy sea, and the destructive sword are portions of eternity, too great for the eye of man.
Portions of eternity. Okay.
William Blake, from Proverbs of Hell.
Oh, he was reading a poem. Oh, okay. That makes more sense now. Cool.
Of heaven and hell. When I was a child, I knew the contours and details of all the houses in my immediate neighborhood. I knew the back alleys, the places behind the fences, the location of each crack in the pavement, and the shortcuts that could be taken from one place to another. My geographical locale was not large, but I had explored it thoroughly and my knowledge of it was very detailed. Now that I am an adult, the same is not true. I lived in Fairview, the town I grew up in for most of my childhood and adolescence, for only 9 years, but I am still able to picture in high resolution the street I lived on. I have lived in Toronto on the same street for more than twice that long, but I still have only a vague sense of the houses that surround me. I do not think that is...
Partly because I think you were in tune with the people around you when you were a kid, and you've become this pathetically jaded old fuck. Do you know what I mean? You've become this nasty, spiteful little old bastard. And probably the benzos haven't helped memory as well. So, yeah, of course you only have a vague sense of things, because you don't give a fuck about the people around you. You're a conservative. It's kind of what you people do.
It's a good thing. I feel far less at home because of it. It is as if when I walk down the street and glance at a local house, I think house as an icon.
Oh, what is he talking about? I think house as an icon. I mean, maybe he goes on to explain. I mean, I've already watched it, so I know he doesn't. But...
Because really, what practical difference does it make to me what particularities characterize each house?
Yeah, admiring architecture, seeing the beauty of your surroundings, caring that you live in a community is irrelevant or something? That's just... Why would you bother? Why would you bother? Icons are socialist, absolutely. Can I get some eyes in chat for icons? Right. Why would you give a fuck about these things? The thing is, I care about the community I live in. I care about the house. The houses are all pretty samey, to be honest. But he's rich enough where he could decide to live anywhere. Why would you live in a place where the architecture is so uninspiring that you don't even know what the houses around you look like? You just think, icon? House icon? Does he literally just imagine his street is like, you know, the little green Monopoly houses? Just green Monopoly houses and then his house. Fucking hell, man. Yeah, also, dickhead, what the number one... the first chapter is don't denigrate artistic achievement. What about if the houses around you are really cool? That seems like a fucky thing to say, doesn't it?
And then my attention is turned to something else. I do not see the house with its specific shingles, colors, flowers, and architectural details, despite the interest that might have been elicited in me had I paid careful attention. By this point in my life, I have seen so many houses...
Oh, true, that's a great point as well. Yeah, when you're a kid, you're on your street all the time. Whereas when you're an adult, you just go back to your house like after work. Like, you're not around your house very often. If that makes sense. Yeah, anyway.
In so many places that I know what a house is likely to do when I walk by, which is very little. Thus, I...
He looked up at the camera like that was going to be really profound. And he just went, I know what a house is likely to do. Which is very little. It's a fucking house. It doesn't have, like, legs or something. It's not going to trip you up or swear at you. I know what a lamppost is likely to do. Which is very little. Did you know inanimate objects don't do stuff? Crazy, right?
Ignore the engaging idiosyncrasies and beauties of its details, its unique character for better or worse, and see just enough to stay oriented as I walk past and continue to think and be elsewhere as I do so. There is real loss in that. I am simply not there in my adult neighborhood the same way I was as a child in my hometown. I am separated from the reality of the world, and a very deep sense of belonging is missing in some important way. Because of that, perception has been replaced for me with functional, pragmatic memory. This has made me more efficient in some ways, but the cost is an impoverished experience of the richness of the world.
But Jordan, right, I think there is reason for someone who works 9 to 5, doesn't have a lot of money, lives in a shit area, to experience their world in the kind of grey monotone way that he describes. He's rich enough that he could live anywhere. Like, he's a multi-millionaire, right? He can live anywhere. He could go back and live in Serbia, although his memories are probably not great on that. So he could live in, like, the best neighbourhood in the world with the most fantastically ornate architecture. He could live in the French Quarter in New Orleans. He could live in Beverly Hills. He could go to London, live in Belgravia with the big columns and the grand Victorian fucking staircase, all that bollocks, right? He could live in all of that. He could live anywhere. And from his description of this, he just lives at some basic street in Toronto. Like, I'm sure Toronto has lovely areas, which are visually stimulating. But yeah, he's chosen to live in a place where he doesn't seem to enjoy it. Why? Why have you chosen to do that, Jordan? Do you enjoy being depressed by your surroundings? He's a tiresome individual, and he's just moaning about, like, nothing, basically.
I remember when I started working...
Yeah, he's reading... These are excerpts from his new shit book.
...working as a junior professor in Boston when my kids were about 2 and 3 years old. I was very preoccupied with my work.
And Michaela was planning to kill him all the way back then. Crazy days.
Trying to keep up, trying to advance my career, trying to make enough money to support my family on a single income. I would come home and take a walk with Tammy and our children, Michaela and Julian. I found it very difficult to remain patient with them. I had too much work to do, always, or believed I did, and had disciplined myself through years of effort to focus continually on that. If we went for a walk, I wanted to know exactly where we were going, just how long it would take to get there, and precisely...
What a joyless motherfucker. You couldn't just go for a walk. No, I had to know exactly when we would arrive, exactly when we were going to leave. He's a fucking robot. He's a fucking, like, a robot man. What a joyless, loveless, empty husk he is. And it seems like, if we're going back to when he was, when his kids were 2 and 3, like Michaela Peterson's like 30 now or something. So we're talking, what, 20 odd years ago? He was a joyless motherfucker back then. So it's not that his recent experiences have made him jaded. He's always been that character. He's always been a remorseless black hole of fun. Just sucking all the life out of any situation. No wonder he appeals to conservatives.
When we were going to get back. This is no attitude to adopt when trying to have a pleasant and reasonable time with toddlers. Not if you want to immerse yourself in the experience. Not if you want to watch and participate in the pleasure they take in their timeless discovery. Not unless you want to risk missing something of crucial import. It was very difficult for me to relax and focus on the present and watch my little kids pursue their meandering route through the neighborhood with no particular destination, purpose, or schedule in mind.
Schedule? I like the idea that kids have to have a schedule. No, you just go for a walk. Just going to go climb a tree. Fuck it. It's there.
Themselves deeply in an encounter with a local dog, bug, or earthworm, or in some game they invented on the way. Now and then, however, I could snap briefly into that same frame of reference, That is one of the wonderful gifts provided by young children. And see the pristine world they inhabited, still untrammeled by practiced and effective memory, capable of producing pure joy in the newness of everything. But I was still possessed enough by my future concerns to be involuntarily pulled back into intense preoccupation with getting the next thing done.
So you missed your children growing up, the wonder of their discovery of the world. Is that what made you bitter? Like, it's sort of pathetic, isn't it, really? It's really quite sad. Like, I at the moment, my young nephew, he's just turned 4 years old, just before Christmas. He's a joy to behold. In short bursts. Children are not my thing. But to see him discover new things, to see him pet a cat and interact with the cat, to see him try and climb over a wall, just to see him discover the world around him is one of the most beautiful things I've ever had the great honour of witnessing and being a part of. It really is. It's an enormously emotional, moving thing. And he's not even my kid, like he's a nephew, right? To see Jordan Peterson missed out on the beauty of all of that with his own kids because of his preoccupation. So he, to the point where he was like, "Oh, these children don't even have a schedule for their walk through the park." Like, how do you not fucking blow your brains out? How do you psychologically survive that level of soul-destroying mundanity? That banal existence of having to need a fucking timeline for a walk in the park or whatever. Like, it's just, part of me feels sorry for the dude, because, like, I don't know if it's, it might be something to do with the way he was raised or whatever, or maybe it's a byproduct of some sort of mental illness or whatever that he suffers from, or I don't know. But also, then he's also a piece of shit, and he's not, he knows what he's doing. But I do feel kind of sorry for him in that sense, because he's missed out on one of the beauties of the world, because he needed to get stuff done, like write a book for weird people on the internet. Like, that's not good. That seems like a trade you shouldn't have made, Jordan. I can understand why you're bitter about that. But you shouldn't act out on it. And you shouldn't, like, force your weird neuroses on other people. Millions of other people.
I knew perfectly well.
And thank you to, who was it? Dank Timeline for following on Twitch. You should also go and follow me on Twitch. If you're watching this on YouTube, follow me on Twitch. And if you're on Twitch, go and subscribe to my YouTube. I'm Kevin Logan there. I'm not Dylan Logan, which is what Infrared called me, because he's a twat. I'm Kevin Logan. Hello.
Missing out on beauty and meaning and engagement, regardless of whatever advantages and efficiency my impatience bought. I was narrow, sharp, and focused, and did not waste time. But the price I paid for that was the blindness demanded by efficiency, accomplishment, and order. No longer seeing the world. I was only seeing the little I needed to navigate it with maximum speed and lowest cost. None of that was surprising. I had the responsibilities of an adult. I had a demanding job. I had to take care of my family, and that meant sacrificing the present and attending to the future. But having little children around and noticing their intense preoccupation with the present and
or complain about Bill C-16, yeah. Exactly. That's why I'm reticent to, like, give him the benefit and say, like, I feel sorry for him, because he's also a hateful prick. No amount of, like, overly structured lifestyle or dullness or whatever over attention to certain issues makes up for the fact that he knowingly and willfully lied to try and smear trans rights. He's garbage. He's garbage.
Their fascination with what was directly around them made me very conscious of the loss that accompanied maturity. Great poets are expressly aware of this, and they do what they can to remind the rest of us. There was a time when meadow, grove, and stream, the earth, and every common sight to me did seem apparelled in celestial light, the glory and the freshness of a dream. It is not now as it hath been of yore. Turn wheresoever I may, by night or day. The things which I have seen, I now can see no more. Ye blessed creatures, I have heard the call ye to each other make. I see the heavens laugh with you in your jubilee. My heart is at your festival. My head hath its coronal. The fullness of your bliss, I feel it all. Oh, evil day, if I were sullen, while earth herself is adorning this sweet May morning, and the children are culling.
He's annoying me. So we're gonna have a little palate cleanser. Panda. Yeah, baby panda. Oh. Oh, look, his little feet sticking out. Oh, that's adorable. Oh, that was sweet. We got another one for later. Shut up.
On every side, in 1,000 valleys far and wide, fresh flowers, while the sun shines warm and the babe leaps up on his mother's arm. I hear, with joy I hear, but there's a tree of many, one, a single field which I have looked upon. Both of them speak of something that is gone. The pansy at my feet doth the same tale repeat. Whither is fled the visionary gleam?
He's just reading poetry at us now.
The glory.
Which, don't get me wrong, I'm down for it. JBP, if you want to just become like a poetry slam channel, that'd be dope. But I think that's where he's going. What's this? The trans gamer girl puts boys don't always be girls. Cisgender girl dominates boys in win at NC State Wrestling Championship. Oh, cool. I was unaware of this story. Boop. There we go. Crystal Palace? What? What's Crystal Palace got to do with anything? I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, so that's a thing. Heaven Fitch would have been robbed of her championship had any of the 13 anti-trans sports bills been considered across the country, being enacted in North Carolina at the moment. That's, yeah. God. I fucking hate all this anti-trans shit, man. There's no fucking need for it. Like, it's just weird, bigoted shit. Is he crying again? No, not quite. Don't get me wrong. Nothing wrong with crying, but he's like, you shouldn't cry. And then cries at fucking not Toy Story, what was it? What was the movie? The fucking Disney movie he cried about? Because it was like ending Western civilization or something.
And the dream. William Wordsworth. Ode. Intimations of immortality from recollections of early childhood. Some, in fact, never lose the glorious vision of childhood. This is particularly true of artists.
Frozen. He laughed. Yeah, he cried about fucking Frozen. What a douche. Where are the mods? There were mods earlier. Are there no mods in Twitch, people? Am I a football fan, Kip? I am, yes. Hang on. Lace is there. What's this? Has there been any evidence to say that he's against trans? Yeah, absolutely. He lied about the Bill C-16 thing. Who do I support? I support Birmingham City Football Club for my many, many sins. But no one on this channel is remotely interested in sport, so we'll get on with this idiot.
And indeed seems a vital part of what makes them artists. William Blake, the English painter, printmaker, and poet, appears to have been one such person. He inhabited a uniquely visionary world. Blake perceived something closer to what the philosopher Immanuel Kant termed the thing in itself.
I just want to point out, the Romantic poets would have despised Jordan Peterson and his rigid, weird worldview. Just saying. Just saying.
Than do most mortals, left as we are with the pale reflection of our surroundings that are increasingly restricted, mature perceptions delivered to us. Blake was also exquisitely sensitive to the metaphoric or dramatic significance of each apparently isolated event, the manner in which each event is rife with endless, poetically echoing connotations.
Someone wants some evidence that he's transphobic. Okay. So, Jordan Peterson, Bill C-16. Are Jordan Peterson's claims about Bill 16 correct? Let's have a look. This is from Torontoist. Could Bill C-16 trample free speech and criminalise freedom of expression? So claims Jordan Peterson, the University of Toronto professor who posted a video lecture online in September that criticised political correctness, in which he discussed his beliefs that non-binary identities are invalid. So again, tick, he's transphobic. Peterson has said he would refuse to use gender-neutral pronouns if requested by a non-binary student. Of the proposed bill, C-16, Peterson told the Toronto Sun, quote, "These laws..." Hang on, is this actually on the screen? It is on the screen. "These laws are the first laws that I've seen that require people under the threat of legal punishment to employ certain words to speak a certain way instead of merely limiting what they're allowed to say." Unquote. Peterson has also said he believes freedom of speech is under attack in Canada. What's the legitimacy for Peterson's claim about Bill C-16? We fact-checked them here. First, what is Bill C-16? And then it goes through the actual law, right? Which you can read there if you want to. It's basically allowing for trans rights to be added to other protected classes in terms of things you can't discriminate based on. What has Peterson said about Bill C-16? And then his claims about all of that shit. Analysing Peterson's claims. According to Brenda Cosman, a professor of law at the University of Toronto, which is the same thing that Peterson is, a professor at, Peterson is fundamentally mischaracterising, that's a direct quote, Bill C-16. Quote, "I don't know if he's misunderstanding it, but he is mischaracterising it," Cosman said. Brenda Cosman spoke to a Torontoist about this, but you can find what she said on the issue here. Cosman says that Peterson is trying to argue that the misuse of pronouns could constitute hate speech. Unquote. "I don't think there's any legal expert that would say that this would meet the threshold for hate speech in Canada," unquote, she says. "Our court have a very high threshold for what kind of comments actually constitute hate speech, and the nature of speech would have to be much more extreme than simple pronoun misuse," according to Cosman. Quote, "The misuse of pronouns is not equivalent to advocating genocide in any conceivable manner," she continues. "If he advocates genocide against trans people, he would be in violation, but misusing pronouns is not what that provision of the code is about." So you get the idea. The Canadian Bar Association even came out and literally had to do a thing saying, yeah, he's wrong. This law doesn't say anything about dictated speech in any way. So, for the person in the Twitch chat who was like, yeah, that's the brief outline of the thing. Anyway, yeah, he's transphobic as fuck.
Every farmer understands.
You're welcome.
Every tear from every eye becomes a babe in eternity. This is caught by females bright and returned to its own delight. The bleak, the
Enlightened Enlisted, who's the person who asked, with 100 bits, says many thanks. You're very welcome.
bark, bellow, and roar are waves that beat on heaven's shore. The babe that weeps the rod beneath writes revenge in realms of death. The beggar's rags fluttering in air does to rags the heavens tear. The soldier armed with sword and gun, palsied, strikes the summer's sun.
He's just reading poetry at us.
The farthing is worth more than all the gold on Afric's shore. One mite wrung from the laborer's hands shall buy and sell the miser's lands. Or, if protected from on high, does that whole nation sell and buy. He who mocks the infant's faith.
Oh yeah, and even after he was corrected about C16, he continued to tell a lie. So you know he's lying. It's not a misinterpretation. If you're told by experts in the field, no, that's wrong, and you continue to say it, that's not a misunderstanding at that point. That's you deliberately lying, which is what he did.
Shall be mocked in age and death. He who shall teach the child to doubt the rotting grave shall never get out. He who respects the infant's faith triumphs over hell and death. William Blake, Auguries of Innocence, lines 67 to 90.
It's quite a big chunk.
The vision of a true artist such as Blake is truly too much, because what is beyond our memory-restricted perceptions.
And I just want to point out, it was Blake who wrote Jerusalem, wasn't it? Which is a story about how the Industrial Revolution was terrible for the working classes, amongst other things, of course, as well. He would have absolutely fucking despised Jordan Peterson. He would have he despised the capitalism as mercantilist as it was at the time. He would have absolutely fucking despised Jordan Peterson and his capitalist ilk of the modern age. I mean, really, really would have hated him. Not that it's necessarily, worth anything, just a point. Thank you to Enlightened Enlisted. Fuck's sake. I promise you, English is my first language and I can read. I promise. Well, I've set myself up for a fall here. Thank you to Enlightened_Enlisted for following on Twitch. You can also do so at twitch.tv/KFLogan1875.
Too much. It is the unfathomable totality of the world, past, present, and future bound up together, every level connected to every other level, nothing existing in isolation, everything implying something vital but beyond our comprehension, and all of it...
Don't be rude in Twitch chat, please. If someone doesn't know a thing and they ask, and they're told and they accept, that's fine. Learning is good. We're pro-learning on this channel.
Speaking of the overwhelming mystery of being, the visionary concentrates on something we all see hypothetically, a vase of flowers, perhaps, in all its complexity. And
hey, Utah Outcasts. Hello. Everyone should go and follow Utah Outcasts on, certainly on YouTube. I don't know what other platforms they're on. Feel free to spam links if you want to, Utah Outcasts.
Each bloom...
And learning is socialist, correct.
Springing forth out of nothingness before its dissolution and return. A haystack in the spring and its appearance in the summer, autumn, and winter. Observing and portraying the absolute mystery of its existence with its different shades of light and color, as well as the underlying commonality of form, which we can easily confuse with the full and incomprehensible actuality of what is there. How do you know? But every bird that cuts the airy way is an immense world of delight, closed by your senses 5.
Is he written any of this actual fucking paragraph, chapter. Has he written any of this chapter? Because he's just reading poetry that other people have written. Like he's just reading. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love a bit of romantic poetry. I'm a big Byron fan myself, but I like a bit of Wordsworth, bit of Blake, never hurt. Bit of Shelley. Who doesn't like a bit of Shelley? Come on now, peeps. But yeah, he hasn't written this chapter, has he? He's just fucking reciting old bits of poetry. It's ridiculous. That's like, what the fuck? Does he have to? Oh no, I was about to say, does he have to pay? But presumably, it's this poetry would now be in what do you call it? A public license now because it's so fucking old. I presume no one holds the copyright to it anymore.
William Blake, from A Memorable Fancy, The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. To perceive Van Gogh's painting, Irises, from which...
It's Van Gogh. Please, be respectful to the Dutch and their weird language.
The illustration that begins this chapter...
They're all asleep, it's fine. It's fine. It's fucking, gone 2 in the morning in the Netherlands? They're not watching this.
Is, for example, to gaze through a window back into the eternity that our perceptions once revealed, so that we can remember how awe-inspiring and miraculous the world...
Again, by the way, Van Gogh would have absolutely fucking hated Jordan Peterson. Yeah. For what it's worth. Like, he wasn't some absolutely rabid socialist, it wouldn't appear, or anything, but he was, like, clearly not of Jordan Peterson's ilk, let's say.
World really is under the
like, he actually quite liked women. Just saying.
Mundane familiarity to which we have reduced it. To share in the artist's perception reunites us with the source of inspiration that can rekindle our delight in the world, even if the drudgery and repetition of daily life has...
No, you shouldn't. By the way, someone says in the chat, the fact that poetry bores me makes me feel guilty and uncultured. Don't. It's nonsense. Like, I like poetry, but lots of other people don't. That's fine. You're into whatever you're into. It doesn't make you more or less cultured. It's a very, very patriarchal sort of white supremacist thing that we look back and go, oh, those old dead white people, they created high art, whereas this modern stuff is rubbish. Like, it's just not, that's not cool. That's not fucking cool. Okay? You're as cultured as you feel and want to be. Okay? That's fine. Enjoy whatever you enjoy. And we had a noise happen. What was the noise that happened? An assumed name gives $1. Thank you very much. Here is the message you requested. Thank you. Thank you. And I know exactly who that is because your real name showed up. Thank you. Assumed name.
Reduced what we see to the narrowest and most pragmatic of visions. But for those first affections, those shadowy recollections, which, be they what they may, are yet the fountain light of all our day, are yet a master light of all our seeing, uphold us, cherish, and have power to make our noisy years seem moments in the being of the eternal silence, truths that wake to perish never. Which
the annoying thing is, right, I like a bit of poetry. But he's choosing slightly weird poetry. It's not bad necessarily. Look, I'd need to know the full piece and all the rest of it. But it's kind of, I don't know. It's not for me. He's even when he does poetry, it's stuff that I'm not a massive fan of, which is annoying because he's doing romantic poetry, which I do like. But he's choosing weird bits, and it's all about like. Well, I mean, to be fair, the romantics did write about death a lot. But he's choosing all the death stuff and the, all of that. And he is a terrible reader. He's not, you're giving the game away there, TJJ. He's not a performance poet, is he? He's not really giving you anything. He's sort of, again, as I'd mentioned earlier, he's like a black hole of fun. He's sucking all the life out of a piece of poetry. Very annoying.
Neither listlessness, nor mad endeavor, nor man, nor boy, nor all that is at enmity with joy can utterly abolish or destroy. William Wordsworth, Ode, Intimations of Immortality from Recollections of Early Childhood.
So that's two bits of poetry from the same poem. Has he read anything other than that?
All of this is very frightening. It is frightening to perceive the shells of ourselves that we have become. It is frightening to glimpse, even for a moment, the transcendent reality that exists beyond. We think we border our great paintings with luxurious, elaborate frames to glorify them. But we do it at least as much to insist to ourselves that the glory of the painting itself ends at the frame. That bounding, that bordering, leaves the world we are familiar with comfortably intact and unchanged. We do not want that beauty reaching out past the limitations imposed on it and disturbing everything that is familiar. We do the same with museums, those asylums for genius. We isolate
those asylums for genius. Those asylums for genius. He has... That's a lovely phrase. That's a beautifully poetic phrase, but it doesn't really apply, I don't think. Because museums don't have to be good or bad. And to assign genius as a label in that way, I think is... to be honest, I think applying genius to most things is wrong. But museums don't even have to be good, necessarily. I know the ones he's referring to are like the Louvre and the V&A in London or whatever, the Ashmolean in Oxford or MoMA or something, right? In where's MoMA's New York, isn't it? I think yes. So that's the ones he means, but it doesn't have to be. And that might seem pernickety in a way, but I don't feel like giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to nitpick the motherfucker on occasion, because bollocks to him. He hasn't earned the right not to be nitpicked. In fact, quite the opposite.
Everything that is great, everything that could in principle be distributed throughout the world. Why cannot every small town have a shrine devoted to one great piece of art, instead of having every piece collected in a manner impossible for anyone to ever take in at once?
That's why I'm a fan of public art. I think public art can be good. Now, that doesn't really work for, like, paintings, because, it rains, and rain and paintings do not go well together. But, like, sculpture, I'm a fan of public sculpture and stuff. Even if it's stuff I don't particularly like, I think to myself, well, other people probably do like it, so that's fucking badass. It's made the world a slightly better place for someone else, and it's made it an interesting place, because it sparked this conversation in my brain. And that's good.
Is not one masterpiece enough for a room? Or even for a building? 10 great works of art, or 100 in a single room, is absurd, given that each is a world in and of itself. Such mass collection is degrading of the unique singular particularity and worth of what is priceless and irreplaceable.
Right, but what do you... I don't even know where he's particularly going with this. This seems just a slightly pointless diversion. What's this got to do with anything? Oh, anyway, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We're nearly there. Come on.
It is fear that entices us to imprison art, and no wonder. Have you reckoned 1,000 acres much? Have you reckoned the earth much? Have you practiced so long to read? Have you felt so proud to get at the meaning of poems? Stop this day and night with me, and you shall possess the origin of all poems. You shall possess the good of the earth and sun. There are millions of suns left. You shall no longer take things at second or third hand, nor look through the eyes of the dead, nor feed on the specters in books. You shall not look through my eyes either, nor take things from me. You shall listen to all sides and filter them from yourself. Walt Whitman, Song of Myself.
He's not a romantic poet. How dare you? You rapscallion. You mixed it up with a more modern one. And by more modern, I mean he's still been dead 150 years. Actually, not 150, but he's been dead a while, let's say.
It can be overwhelming to open ourselves up to the beauty in the world that we as adults have painted over with simplicity. In not doing so, however, in not taking a proper walk with a young child, for example, we lose track of the grandeur and the awe that untrammeled world. It can be overwhelming to open ourselves up to the beauty in the world that we as adults have painted over with simplicity. In not doing so, however, in not taking a proper walk with a young child, for example, we lose track of the grandeur and the awe the untrammeled world is constantly capable of producing, and reduce our lives to bleak necessity.
So basically he's saying don't live life like I lived it, I think. Okay. Fun times. Palate cleanser. We've on this show we reject the cat versus dog paradigm. Cats and dogs together. Unity.
Что, девочки, греемся?
That's a big cat. And a big dog. Aww. They're mucky. Aww. Yes. Before we go, I did also want to look at the new Dinesh D'Souza PragerU video, because it's mental. They're so desperate to try and make cultural Marxism a thing again. It's like the ultimate Nazi fucking bullshit meme. They desperately need for it to come back. Yeah. So, Dinesh D'Souza, convicted fraudster, criminal, lying piece of shit, says dumb shit. Let's have a look.
There's a new socialism in town. I call it identity socialism. The old...
That means cultural Marxism, by the way, just in case that was too oblique a reference for you.
Socialism, the kind Karl Marx dreamed up, was all about the working class, the sort of blue-collar worker who, ironically, voted for President Trump.
Ironically, he didn't. I've said this before, but about 56% of people between $0 and $100,000 per year annual household income voted for Joe Biden. Trump only won with people 100,000 or above. Yeah.
But today's socialists couldn't care less about the guy in the hard hat. He had his chance at revolution and blew it. Today's socialist is all about race, gender, and transgender rights.
How dare they? How dare they be about other things? It's almost like this is an updated version of socialism, which takes into account more than Marx did. Or something.
Class is an afterthought. To understand this is to understand the left's takeover of the college campus.
There's so many right-wing memes going on in this one little video. We're 32 seconds in, and already he's gone with cultural Marxism, echo Marx around that. He's gone with campus stuff, right? He's gone with the party of the working class. They're not. He's mentioned Karl Marx, but they're so far to the right that they're saying Karl Marx is okay, but this new lot are even further to the left or something. I don't know. He's been anti-trans, anti-gay, anti-race stuff, anti-gender stuff. Like, there's so many right-wing memes going on already. It's like it's buzzword-a-palooza.
And all the ills that takeover has spawned, from Me Too to Black Lives Matter.
The ills. Me Too. Where people who have been sexually assaulted, both men and women, have come forward about their stuff. That's an ill. That is an ill of of the takeover by the leftists. I wonder what it is about this convicted felon who stands a rapist like Donald Trump. I wonder what it is that makes him think that Me Too isn't a good idea. That holding criminals account for their criminality is a bad thing. I wonder why. It's shocking to me.
Matter to girls competing against biological boys.
Woo! Transphobia! Yay!
But campus culture has now metastasized into the culture of the whole society. As liberal writer Andrew Sullivan has put it, we all live on campus now.
Liberal writer Andrew Sullivan. Liberal writer Andrew Sullivan. I know for a fact Andrew Sullivan is not a liberal writer. The conservative soul. I read, way back in the day, back when I was at college, so a long time ago. I'm very old. Andrew Sullivan is a British/American gay author. Yeah, he's a conservative gay. I know, they do exist. He wrote a book called The Conservative Soul. And the start of it comes out... Hang on, where is it? Here we go. My conservative lineage... So this is Andrew Sullivan talking about himself. My conservative lineage is an idiosyncratic one, and it's worth getting into the table here, just so you know where I am. I grew up in Britain in the 1970s and 80s. I was a teenage Thatcherite. A teenage Thatcherite. I also wore a Reagan 1980 button and saw the former governor, California governor, as the West's best hope in the survival against socialism and communism. That person, apparently, is liberal. The far right in America have gone so far now that even Reaganites and Thatcherites are apparently liberal. Or Dinesh D'Souza's just lying because he's a fascist prick. Whatevs. Whatevs. It doesn't really matter at this point. They're just lying.
Identity socialism is first and foremost about division, not just class.
This is a rebaking of cultural Marxism, cultural Bolshevismus, the Nazi meme. They're doing Nazi memes right now. Literally, Adolf Hitler and the original fucking OG Nazis. Those people. Nazi memes. Good.
Class division, but now race division, gender division, transgender division, black.
But what about the only division that really matters? Joy division. Love will tear me apart again. Anyway, also Joy Division was technically literally a Nazi meme. Literally, it was the name of a Nazi social program. Just in case you didn't know that one.
And Latinos are in, whites are out, women are in, men are out, gays, bisexuals, transsexuals, transgenders are in.
Gays, bisexuals, transgenders, and transsexuals. Are you up now? What? What are you talking about now? Transsexuals and transgenders. Can I get some T's in chat for transgenders? Whatever the fuck that is. Fucking hell. They're so precise with their terminology. That's how I take them so seriously.
In, heterosexuals are out.
Good. Heterosexuals should be out. They're evil scum and they're against God and they're going to burn in the lakes of fire of hell for eternity.
Illegals are in, native-born citizens are out.
Illegals. Fuck me. Seriously, if I was the Koch brothers or whatever, I'd want my money back. These people have spent millions trying to write, and it's just such awful propaganda. Fucking crikey. This is a appalling stuff. Also, I love the fact that he's not a native-born citizen, but he's like, immigrants can fuck off.
One may think this is all part of the politics of inclusion, but to think that is to get only half the picture. The point for the left is not merely to include, but also to exclude. So where did this identity...
Didn't you literally just be like, oh, illegal immigrants are bad? Isn't that you, literally doing, exclusion, Dinesh? Old buddy, old pal? Isn't that you literally doing exclusion? Isn't you saying the transgenders are bad? Doing exclusion? Dinesh?
Where did socialism come from? Meet Herbert
Herbert Marcuse. They're literally doing Frankfurt School, JQ, fucking cultural Bolshevismus. They're just throw it at the fucking wall.
Marcuse. Born in Berlin in 1898, Marcuse fled Germany at the dawn of the Nazi era. After stints at Columbia, Harvard, and Brandeis, Marcuse moved to California, where he joined the University of California at San Diego in 1965. You'd think that living in a paradise like Southern California, with all the comforts and privileges...
Whoa, I thought it was California. Why are you talking about paradise?
...of academic life might have softened Marcuse's Marx-like hatred of capitalism. But
his Marx-like hatred for capitalism is what I meant to say. I fucked that up.
It was not to be. If anything, the more he prospered, the more he wanted to bring the system down. He had a problem, however, a big one. Socialism didn't work in America. Life was too good.
Hang on, whoa, home slice. Whoa. Even if we say life was too good, again, citation needed for basically anyone who wasn't already a rich white guy. Even if that were true, that wouldn't mean that socialism wouldn't work, because it hasn't been tried in America. And by the way, this is also the dipshit who's like, does the, it's not real capitalism, it's corporatism. So actually, capitalism hasn't been tried, apparently, in America, because it's corporatism. Unless it suits Dinesh, and then it's capitalism.
Working class in the U.S. didn't aspire to overthrow the existing order. They aspired to own a home. How could you foment revolution without revolutionaries?
In 1965, there were revolutionaries. There were like Black Panthers and the Weather Underground and stuff. There were revolutionaries around. Like, not enough to necessarily overthrow the government, and ultimately they didn't overthrow the government, but you can't say there weren't revolutionaries.
Classic Marxism had no answer for this. But almost 100 years after Marx, Marcuse did. The answer was college students.
Oh, God. Fucking end me, man. So Karl Marx and Herbert Marcuse have made the colleges into revolutionaries-isms. Ugh, fucking hell.
They would be the recruits for what he termed the Great Refusal, the repudiation and overthrow of free market capitalism.
I fucking hope so. That would be dope.
Conditions were perfect. The students of the 60s were already living in what was in effect a socialist commune, a university campus.
University campus. University campus is a socialist commune. Oh, fucking Christ. Okay. Here's a poll for you, everyone. Who's more wrong? For those who... this is only for those who've been watching the whole... Fuck me, 2.5 hours I've been doing this. Who was more wrong? Glenn Greenwald calling Tucker Carlson a socialist? Or Dinesh D'Souza saying that a college campus is basically a socialist commune? We'll go 1 for Greenwald, 2 for D'Souza. 1 for Greenwald, 2 for D'Souza. There you go. We'll see what this incredibly scientific poll comes up with. Oh, good lord. Oh, Dinesh, you really are a dipshit, man. Ooh, we're getting some twos. Dinesh is poking out in front. It's tight though. Oh wow. And getting some ones in. Ooh. Oh, this is tight, man. I'm gonna have to call this shit. 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, a couple more ones. Oh, okay. The ones are coming in. We've had, if we'd stopped the count early, Dinesh would have won it. But just like election day, there was a Dinesh mirage, and then they mysteriously found hundreds of thousands of Glenn Greenwald ballots. Very surprising. Very surprising. Need to get Melissa Corona in on this one. It would appear that Glenn Greenwald won that vote, but there we go. I do not reveal where I went to university. It is of no concern to anyone on the interwebs. There we go. But it was, as Dinesh has said, it was like a socialist commune, so, yeah.
Rather than being grateful to their parents for providing them with this opportunity to learn and study, they were restless and bored. Most importantly, they were looking for meaning, a form of self-fulfillment that went beyond material gratification. Of course, as with all successful social movements, timing was critical. Here, Marcuse was very fortunate. The 60s was the decade of the Vietnam War. Students faced the prospect of being drafted. Thus, they had selfish reasons to oppose the conflict.
Oh yeah, no one opposed the conflict because it was brutal fucking imperialist slaughter. No. It was just they were selfish. I did not expect there to be a Vietnam War apologia here in this video. Vietnam War apologia. Like, what the fuck? Look, I thought even conservatives were like, no, actually that was pretty bad. Maybe we shouldn't have done this. Oof. Lil Money, hello Monica. Just started watching, but I'm also watching on YouTube, just giving bits here on Twitch, then going back to YouTube. Thank you for your 500 bits. Very, very generous. You can also give me bits on Twitch, which apparently is money. So, yeah, there's that.
Marcuse and his acolytes turned this selfishness into righteousness by teaching the students that they weren't draft dodgers, they were noble resistors who were part of a global struggle for social justice. Marcuse portrayed Ho Chi Minh and the Viet Cong as a kind of third world proletariat.
They were? Like, I mean, they were the third world proletariat. I don't know. What were they then, exactly? A first world bourgeoisie? Like, that's exactly what they were. The fuck?
Fighting to free themselves from American imperialism.
Yeah. Wow. So Marcuse told some students the truth. Okay. Cool. That sounds like a good thing. Call me crazy, but that sounds like a dope thing to do. Sounds like what a professor should do.
This represented a transposition of Marxist categories. The new working class were the Vietnamese freedom fighters. The evil capitalists were American soldiers serving on behalf of the American government.
Well, I mean, they were also working. But that doesn't mean they were evil capitalists. They were doing the bidding of capitalists, but often they were, like you say, they were drafted. So you're you're kind of wrong there too. Like, what's the point of this? This is just fucking weird. I did not expect Vietnam War apologia. That's very strange. This is a new take from Dinesh on this one.
Marcuse found, in addition to the students, other groups ripe for the taking. The first was the Black Power movement, which was a militant adjunct to the civil rights movement. The beauty of this group, from Marcuse's point of view, was that unlike white students, its members wouldn't have to be instructed in the art of grievance. Blacks had grievances that dated back centuries.
blacks, just blacks, had grievances that dated back centuries. Oh, Dinesh, is there anything you can't make annoyingly racist?
Through another Marxist transposition, blacks would become the working class, whites the capitalist class.
Oh, for fuck's sake. He's just saying words now. He's just saying words. All white people are capitalists now. Okay, cool. That's totally what that is. That's a perfectly honest interpretation of something. Dinesh, please go away. You should still be in jail anyway, you little bitch.
And this analysis took the place of class. Another emerging source of disgruntlement was the feminists. Marcuse recognized
the feminists. Dun dun dun.
They too could be taught to see themselves as an oppressed class. This, of course, would require a further...
Women didn't have any grievances that went back, though. Women didn't have any grievances. Not at all. It's fine. Women... in fact, women have always been president, so it's super awesome.
Marxist transposition, women would now be viewed as the working class and men the capitalist class.
But what about black men? You've not factored in intersectionality in your weird bullshit analysis.
The class category would now be shifted to gender. Marcuse recognized that educating and mobilizing all these groups, the bored students, the aggrieved blacks, and the angry feminists, would take...
The aggrieved blacks. Oh, God. Oh, I fucking hate Dinesh D'Souza so much.
Time. But he wasn't in a hurry. Soon enough, the radical students would be the radical professors, teaching identity socialism to a fresh crop of...
Identity socialism. Echo Marx.
Fashionable recruits. Over time, Marcuse believed the university could produce a new type of culture, and that culture would...
A kind of cultural Marxism, yeah? Yeah?
And spill into the larger society to infect primary education, the news media, and entertainment. Even big business, the hated capitalist class itself would succumb. He was right. Identity socialism has arrived.
Are you afraid? I'm afraid. I don't know if you can tell from the laughter, I'm really scared. Dinesh, tell me what to do. Do I have to give money to PragerU? Is that what I'm going to do to get past this? Okay.
I'm Dinesh D'Souza for Prager University.
Not a university, you're a joke. Anyway, so that literally we didn't learn anything from that. As always, PragerU, literally nothing of worth, note, or even frankly interest. It was funny though. Let's be absolutely honest about this. It was pretty funny. Not intentionally, but I think the college campuses are basically like socialist communes bit was very, very good. I nearly ejaculated. Anyway, thank you all for joining me. Today has been a stressful day for me. A very, very stressful, annoying, frankly rather upsetting day for me. Don't worry, no one's dead or anything. It's just life is shit. Anyway, but this has been therapy for me. Like Jordan Peterson spewing his heart out under the guise of entertaining others. That's basically what I've been doing tonight. I've been swearing at weird idiots on the internet for the entertainment, hopefully, of the viewing public. And I hope you were entertained by it. And if you were, you can follow me on Twitch. You can subscribe to me on Twitch, either by giving me your money, or if you've got an Amazon Prime account, you can link that directly to your your Twitch account for free, and then you get each month. You get a free subscription, and you can use that on my channel and redistribute Jeff Bezos's quadrillions of dollars, and we'll have him penniless in no time. You can also subscribe to me on YouTube. I'm Kevin Logan on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, follow me on the Twitch. If you're on Twitch, follow me on the YouTubes. Or subscribe to me on YouTube, which is the equivalent. You can also give me bits on Twitch if you want to, as indeed El Toniro just did 100 bits. No message, but 100 bits. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yeah, all my social medias are below. There's the streamlabs.com/KFLogan1875 for your one-off donations, or you can go to patreon.com/KFLogan for regular monthly donations if you want to help keep the show going and stuff. And I'll be back technically later today by UK time, because we have slipped over into Friday past midnight and such. So I'll be back later today. I think we're doing regular time, 7 PM UK time, 2 PM on the east coast of America. Me and Christy will be back. We'll be doing some racist White History Month stuff, and looking at the news and bookmarks and all the regular palate cleansery nonsense. Thank you all for listening and watching. This has been cathartic for me. Much needed. I will, on Twitch, I will kick you over to somebody. I don't know who. Who's around? Let's have a look. Who's broadcasting at this ungodly hour? Let's have a look. Oh, that doesn't... Who's broadcasting at this? Shut up, Logan. You fucking dirtbox. Bad Bunny's going. I don't know what she's up to. What's she watching?
It's money just for you.
Okay, well, yeah, I'll kick you over to her, probably. So, yeah, raid the channel. Yeah. Thank you all for listening and watching. I'll be back later today. Thank you all for listening and watching.